a Dutch boy is plugging his thumb into a dike. Hi guys, today I have finally a new book review for you guys about The Ministry for the Future by Stanley Robinson. In this video I'll be shortly talking about the author and try to understand his reading style, what the book is about, the style perspectives of the characters within the book, and of course I will end this video with some quotes out of context and maybe talk a little bit more about them. So the book is published in October 2020 by Dr. Stanley Robinson, who originated who is originally from Illinois but is now a resident of California. He studied literature and got a PhD in English. Right now, he is just a writer for his profession. So, in Dr. Kim's works, there are some reoccurring themes such as nature, culture, ecological sustainability in his works, like his Mars trilogy, which is pretty famous. Besides that, I've read in his wiki page that he said in an interview that he doesn't understand libertarianism, that it never made sense to him, and maybe that goes hand in hand with that he is a paid member of the Democratic Socialists of America. So you could say that he's a little bit left-winged on a political side, and I mean that is maybe a really important thing to remember while reading his book. So enough about the author, but what is the book actually about? So this book is a piece of fiction, but it has multiple angles, and the story is told more in the point of view of two individuals, Frank and Mary, with Frank having a really, I guess, complicated story, and Mary is more of the red line in the story, you could say. And sometimes the perspectives change, and it's more out of a narrator perspective, if I say it correctly, where you get a top view of like scientists who are working on something, and it's more of a like third person view. Sometimes you get the view of like the whole world, like it's just a story of how the world is progressing, and you could even maybe say that the Earth is in that regard the protagonist, perhaps. And the switching of these point of views made it like really interesting. This is also how the chapters are rearranged, or are arranged. Like every chapter you get one point of view, one way you get to see the world, how it is progressing or regressing maybe. Because that's the biggest theme, like the problem in the book, is the rapid change of the climate. And all the characters, everyone in the book is highly influenced by that theme. And it is a piece of fiction, of course, you should really keep that in mind while reading the book. But there, especially like the book starts with a situation that is very close to like pretty real in our world. So that's pretty. You get confronted with that situation. I know I did, especially because when I was reading, I was like, damn, that like actually that like actually happened. And the place where it happened is like one of the most common places that it's happening. Like, I'm not gonna spoil anything. Besides this all common and maybe negative theme, the book is also really idealistic, like really positive, and everything I guess is going how you want it to go, if that makes sense. And other themes that are coming in the book are like communism, big corporations, the exploitation of the common people through social media, like stealing their private information or like capitalizing on their private information, refugees, corruption, terrorism, and even what I found interesting was the extinction border or horizon, whatever you want to call it. I'm not gonna explain what the extinction border or horizon is. The book, in my opinion, does a good job explaining it. But you can always just look it up. You have Google, of course. We live in a information age.
If there are no dogs in heaven, I want to go where they went.
Of course. If you're into those themes, if you are into Switzerland, or like specifically the city of Zurich. So those are the themes. But what's the chronological order? Well, there is a chronological order. From beginning to end, I believe it's like 40 years. I have not checked. I didn't want to backtrack it because I'm lazy. I couldn't find it on the internet because there's no clear answer. Now, like nobody is literally saying, yeah, the book from start to finish is like 40 years. No, there's literally no. I could not find the answer. Maybe you're more lucky than I am. Maybe I'm just stupid. But yeah, I believe it's something like 40 years. And all the changes that is happening in the book. I don't know if 40 years is enough for those changes, I guess, to happen. But it's maybe realistically enough to read. Maybe, especially if you have no knowledge in like earth sciences or like climate and all that sort of stuff. Maybe it sounds realistic enough. So I've already told how the chapters are arranged. Well, the chapters are arranged by, I guess, point of view. You could say they're input of point of view. If you have one chapter, you get one point of view, you go to the next chapter, you get maybe another point of view, or the story goes on. I find that really funny and actually immersive. Yes, immersive. That I read from one point of view, in the next chapter it's like not the same place, but it was at the same time, and that gives you a little bit of like a different perspective of the world, I guess you could say. And sometimes in between all those chapters you have one chapter with some kind of riddle, or like it's just a riddle that most of the times solves itself, like you get the answer at the end of the whole, I guess. I call it a riddle. I don't know if it has its own term or like a verse. Maybe it's a verse. Maybe you could say it's a verse. But there's one that actually is a riddle because you do not get the answer. And I didn't know the answer until I finished the book. And that made me feel pretty stupid, because the moment I realized what the answer was, I was like, oh my god, how can I be so stupid? It was so easy. So I hope you guys have I hope you guys are smarter than me, at least, to understand that riddle. If you're gonna read it, of course. Alright, to the quotes, my favorite part of these videos. This is the second one, but okay. So the first quote is: "They were the Dutch boy's finger, plugging the leak, the last stitch that might stop the hemorrhaging." Well, the Dutch boy is a reference to a tale, a folklore tale, where a Dutch boy is plugging his thumb into a dike.
What?
Because the dike is leaking, and if he didn't do it, the dike would break.
What are you talking about, man?
It would be a real problem. I know the story from my mother. My mother thought that it was a real story that happened, so it made me believe that it was a common Dutch story that everybody knew. Turns out not everybody knows this story in the Netherlands, and it is actually an American-made story. It's an American-made story from Mary Mapes Dodge. She never actually visited the Netherlands or have ever been to the Netherlands. Her reference is someone that she knew was from the Netherlands, and she made a book out of, I guess, what she knew. And that story came from that book, and it never actually happened. Like, my whole life is a lie. I really thought that it was a commonly known story here, but yeah, it turns out having an American mother in a Dutch world makes you believe that American folklore about the Netherlands is actually Dutch folklore, which turns out it isn't. What actually is funny is that the American made up story about the boy plugging dike, someone made its own story from it, which is called The Hero of Haarlem. And they actually named the boy, which is Hansje Brinker. And the funny thing is that in the American story, the boy didn't have a name, and we in the Netherlands actually gave it a name. Plus, in Spaardam, which is very close to Haarlem, they put a statue in 1950, I believe. They put a statue in Spaardam as a symbol to represent, to symbolize the Dutch fight against water, and to attract American tourists. So, after debunking a folklore that I thought was common knowledge in the Netherlands, let's go to the next quotes. The next and final quote I see, because I have only written down 2. The second one. No, the fear I was feeling was perhaps the fear that even if things changed, I would still be just as unhappy as before. I thought it was like pretty deep. I mean, yeah, the fear of change is like the fear that the change doesn't actually matter. Like, you're gonna still be unhappy, you're gonna still not do the things you want to. So yeah, maybe you need to change, because like, this is of course out of context, but I know the context around the change is not in the hands of the one who is saying the quote. And maybe in that way you could say that if the change is not in your hand, actually nothing is gonna change, maybe. But maybe if you are the one who influences the change, maybe you can be happy. Or maybe you don't, because it is out of your control. And that would be like very stoic. Not care because it's out of your hands. But I'm already rambling too much. You can always think for yourself what this quote means. So, would I recommend this book? Yes, of course I would recommend this book. It gives I would say, a fun insight on climate change, how people are reacting to the situation, how governments react, how individuals react, how groups react. And yeah, like everything, it's fun to read, it's intriguing, I would recommend it. Remember, it is fiction, it's not real. The solutions are not real. Just simply said, they're not real. They're real, but they're not real, if you know what I mean. To wrap this up, I have already started reading my next book, Why We Sleep, by Matthew Walker. So if you want to read along, you're happily welcome to do so. I hope my next book review won't be coming in like how long has it took me, maybe 3-4 months or so. I hope I have more time to make more because I actually find it really funny and I enjoy making these. It's helping me with my presentation skills. And with that said, please, if you have any advice, give your feedback on what I can do better. I will happily read all of your comments and I will take your feedback into the next video. So, with all that being said, thank you so much for watching. Leave a like, subscribe, follow me on Instagram and on join the Discord server. And I see you in the next video. So, bye bye.